but I feel like for you mentioned current events vaguely, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like also you mentioned in the beginning, and then you guys only went on marriage. You're like, oh yeah, there's things like these, and then you just kind of, you only went on in depth about marriage.
Or a thought for that is that bringing those up will lead them on for cross-ex.
Okay.
It would have to be specific.
I think you guys are okay on contemporary, because I think you did a good job in terms of today. But, good, Donna. Alright, 1. When you're ready, you may begin.
John Adams said in his 1776 book, Thoughts on Government, that government is instituted for the common good, for the protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness of the people. Although the Constitution was created to be stronger than the government under the Articles of Confederation, it was important to the founders to limit its influence on individual rights. The Federalists and Anti-Federalists disagreed on the enumerated protection of rights under the Constitution, and this eventually led to the adoption of the Bill of Rights. Rights are entitled to protection beyond written amendments. However, it is still citizens' responsibility to be educated and exercise their rights, which would promote the common good.
The Constitution was created to define the powers and jurisdiction of the government over the people. Many of the checks of the government are in Article 1, Section 9, including the idea of ex post facto, which prevents legislation that negates the legality of the previous action. Mahatma Gandhi is quoted as saying that the greatness of a country is in how it treats its weakest members. Within the Constitution, these weakest members can be interpreted as the accused, who are protected under habeas corpus rights. Also in the section of the Constitution is the prohibition of bills of attainder, which means advanced punishment without a judicial trial. All of these protect individual rights from governmental power through preserving the integrity of the government.
The most potent protection of individual rights, however, is found in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Federalists had contended that implied powers within the Constitution thoroughly protected the individual rights of the people. However, the Anti-Federalists argued, as said by Mercy Otis Warren, that there was no security in the proffered system, either for the rights of conscience or for the liberty of the press. They feared a tyrannical government in which the individual rights were ignored, a government they had experienced under British rule. Brutus's 1787 Anti-Federalist paper presented the idea that, in so extensive a republic, the great officers of government would soon become above the control of the people and abuse their power for the purpose of aggrandizing themselves and oppressing them, because the Constitution did not properly protect the people's rights.
To compromise, James Madison drafted the Bill of Rights with influence from George Mason. It included many protections of individual rights, including the freedom of conscience, right to trial by jury, and the 10th Amendment, which reserved all powers not enumerated to the federal government, to the states, and the people. Through federal and anti-federalist debates, through Federalist and Anti-Federalist compromise, individual rights were explicitly protected within the Constitution.
The founders also wanted to emphasize the promotion of common good through civic virtue and citizenship. The founding generation admired the Roman citizen soldier Cincinnatus for his ability to sacrifice his private life as a farmer to defend Rome. The founders views George Washington as their Cincinnatus because he sacrificed his private pursuits to lead a nation in war and peace. Today, the idea of civic virtue can be seen in how citizens have a responsibility to vote, stay informed, and understand their rights.
Alexis de Tocqueville's idea of enlightened self-interest furthers the idea of promoting the common good. This idea is that furthering your own self-interest will ultimately further the interests of others. Enlightened self-interest has resounded throughout American history and was seen in the 2006 case Gonzalez v. Carhart, in which Dr. Carhart, an abortion surgeon, argued that the Partial Birth Abortion Act was unconstitutional because it would be an undue burden on women seeking abortion. Carhart was primarily looking out for his own business interests in his suit, but ultimately he promoted the common good by establishing the unconstitutionality of the Partial Birth Act, which limited women's reproductive and health rights. Miranda v. Arizona also exhibits enlightened self-interest because Miranda, looking out for the protection of his own Fifth Amendment rights, ultimately secured the rights of the future accused, when Miranda rights must be read to those arrested.
The founders wanted to create a society in which individual rights were protected, but the common good was still preserved. It is the citizens' responsibility to use their rights, the judicial process, and even the amendment process, to preserve the common good. As Abraham Lincoln said in his first inaugural address, this country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of inhabiting it, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it. As human society evolves through time, so the Constitution evolves with it to maintain the dignity of the citizen and to advance the common good. Thank you.
403. That's good. Go ahead, Ben and Sarah.
I thought the first and third bullets were really good. I thought maybe you could talk a little bit more about the Federalists and Anti-Federalists.
Well, I heard I feel like most of your essay focused more than half probably focused on individual rights and the common good, which is good. But then it kind of felt like rushed through the second, third, like, oh, we're running out of time and space, so we need to like rush by these. And
What are they rushing by?
the second, third bullet.
Okay.
I heard, on the third bullet, I heard like 2 sentences where you say, the citizens' responsibilities are, so that was good, because I thought that, even if you didn't talk about it as much, it, there's no missing that.
Maggie.
I think as a whole, smile. Because you guys just kind of look like that, like I hate what I'm doing right now. And, but Annie, you really, really did a lot better, and I liked your facial expressions. You were like, kind of like almost getting like a little bit of attitude, but it like added more to it, and it just is like Mr. Clark saying like passion, so I really like that.
Slow down a little bit though.
Okay. So yeah, but just smile.
Heather.
Okay, speaking of facial expressions, Lila and Austin, I didn't think it was very nice that you stared at me. One of the things I did like, and Lila and Anna, Lila and Anna did this the most. When you guys changed who was speaking, you would look at who's speaking new. So I would be directed towards that direction. Austin, you did better about looking at everybody else instead of forward. And Mason, you still look bored, but it did seem like you were listening, so that helps better. Yeah.
Donner.
You guys had about 5 quotes, 1 current event, 3 historical examples, 3 3 constitutional references, and 2 cases.
Oh my god.
In the introduction, I think you guys can add a current event. Somehow, some way. Some constitutional example of something happening in which the protecting individual rights were promoting the common good. And then I think somewhere in the second bullet, why did the Federalists and Anti-Federalists disagree on whether the Constitution sufficiently protected individual rights and promoted the common good? Maybe introduce the idea that the 14th Amendment in terms of providing those more limits that maybe the Anti-Federalists wanted, because I think the 14th Amendment does a lot of what was missing from the Constitution post-Civil War. So I think that's just a couple added things just to give it some more texture. Okay. I like you guys' Anti-Federalist quotes. I think you guys found some really strong, different examples, which I haven't heard or have been used before. Make sure you have those for cross-ex as well when you need them, okay? Sorry for keeping you guys long. Good job. Get your stuff. Get out of here.
How long was our second one?
I don't know, sorry.
416.
Stole it.
Oh, in your opening where you have your opening where it says the experiment.
My life is an experiment. Oh,
You see it. Can you use a different word for experimented?
The framers were blank.
No, the framers dabbled. That's a bad one.
Mr. Clark.
That's a bad one. That's the one I can think of off the top of my head.
So I'm not using experiment.
Yeah, so you're not using
What? Was there
experiment.
something we should cut?
No. Well, I'd have to read it more specifically.
Guys, what did we sign up for, you guys? Guys, what did we sign up for?
We signed up for Wednesday this week.
Yes, take it.
And
Take
Tuesday
it.
after.
They're good. Don't lose them.
Not tomorrow.
Got it?
Bye, Mr. Park.
Bye, guys.
I'll be there for the lunch party.